Good afternoon. My name is Marilee Kenny Hunt, and it is my total pleasure as president of the Bridgewater Improvement Association, which we also call the BIA, to welcome you here this afternoon for this very fun event. This is a special occasion. In my experience, it's the first occasion of this sort for BIA since I've been a part of it. We're here to dedicate this beautiful new Adirondack furniture in celebration of our recent past president, Shirley Krasinski, and in memory, and in memory of our friend, Shirley's partner, Di Draheim. The effects of this celebration for me were a mixture of joy, celebrating two women whom I respect and love, and sad reflection on a life taken too soon. But we're going to make and concentrate on just the positives today. We're going to celebrate two remarkable women and the accomplishments of their lives. And we'll remember them later when we sit in this furniture and read or visit or just sit and be and listen to traffic. The BIA is exceedingly grateful to the trustees of the Bridgewater Public Library, Library Director Jed Phillips and his assistant Ann Gerald, and the Historic District Commission for allowing us to place these pieces here on the library portico. That's just not a given. You can't just go out and buy something and put it on public property. So it took some doing, and we're very grateful for all of that. The BIA, the library, and the Historic District Commission have a long connected history. You'll hear more about that as we proceed. In the meantime, feel free to sit on the benches. I see you're sitting on Steve Elliott's bench, and Ray is sitting on Anna Nelevenko's bench. They honor our former members and another one who was lost too soon. Come sit in the new furniture if you're brave, but we just took that because we figured none of you were going to sit up here, so we just took it. And we're very glad you're here. I've been asked to give tribute to our past president, Shirley Krasinski. I must admit, it is a daunting task. I'm rarely at a loss for words, and I wasn't at a loss for words. I was overwhelmed with words and thoughts and memories. I worried we might not be able to get you home before dark, so I'm going to try to do my best to be quick. Words, I started writing down just descriptors for Shirley. They filled columns. I thought maybe one per alphabetical letter, but there were too many G's. Generous, giver, grower, guide, and T's, thinker, teacher, team player, thoughtful, tree lover, and C's, coach, considerate, cheerful, challenger, H's, humble, harvester, honest, and honorable, M's, mentor, mindful, and mild-mannered, she's a superwoman, and R's, reader, rescuer, role model, and restorer. And then there are just so many other words. Brave, determined, devout, educator, friend, fighter, inspiration, independent, just, kind, leader, magnanimous, quiet, strong, undaunted, woman, extraordinary. See what I did with the X there? Extraordinary. Each word could prompt a speech of its own. She fought to create the East and the West Gateway districts of town, to maintain a designated design criteria to protect the Bridgewater feel upon entering and exiting town on Route 104, and the Little Park. She handpicked trees at the nursery and then persistently urged the highway department to plant them along our streets. By overseeing installation and replacement of the Boston Post lamps, which you're leaning against, right there, all around the common. By fighting to gain the BIA's ownership of the Little Park. And her final accomplishment leading the charge to redesign and rebuild the fountain in front of the Academy building, then gifting it to the town of Bridgewater. How would you briefly describe such a woman? One who taught, mentored, and encouraged not only her students at Bridgewater State College, but others who needed skills she'd already mastered. I was one of those, and I'm eternally grateful. Shirley is a lifelong learner, a voracious reader who, when she could be sitting back, contented with a life well lived, continues to push herself to understand the complexities of living a just life. She rescues her precious golden retrievers and now pampers Di's rescue poodle, Scooter. She does the same for humans, rescuing with kindness and generosity, ensuring comfort and inclusion while noticing and nurturing innate talents. The BIA has a long tradition of placing benches, trees, or gardens throughout the town, honoring its members. After she stepped down as president, and after Di's death, I asked Shirley where she might like a bench placed in her honor. We decided to walk together around town and see what felt right. We discussed the common, then the Academy lawn, and as we left to walk over to the library, we stood at the curbing, waiting to cross this crazy busy street. Shirley looked quietly across at this portico. After a lengthy pause, she stepped back and said, "I think I would like to see Adirondack chairs on that porch." I could see it too. Once again, she had a vision for the best. I'm proud to call her friend and grateful for her service to the BIA, the town of Bridgewater, Bridgewater State University, Massachusetts, and the world. It is fitting this Adirondack furniture is placed here in honor of her and in memory of Di. Shirley, we have a few more people to speak before allowing you to turn at the mic, so please take a stand for a moment so we can cheer you before we start to talk about you some more.
It's with great pleasure on behalf of the Bridgewater Improvement Association that I say a few words about Dr. Diana Draheim, whose honor our organization is dedicating these chairs on the portfolio of the Bridgewater Public Library today. Since Diana's death in 2020, the BIA discussed various ways to honor both Shirley Krasinski and Diana Draheim. After lengthy discussions, the BIA decided that dedicating these bespoke Adirondack chairs and bench would be the perfect way to honor these outstanding women who gave so much to Bridgewater for 50+ years. Though Di, as she was called by her beloved friends, was not a member of the Bridgewater Improvement Association at the end of her life, she was always an advocate and supporter of our organization. What's more, she was a champion of the town, a resident for decades and decades, and a member of the university community. Di joined Bridgewater State College as a faculty member in the Department of Elementary and Early Childhood Education in 1973, where she quickly rose to the front ranks as a professor with the highest standards, who at the same time was much beloved and respected for those standards and her student-centered teaching. She quickly became a tenured full professor. Her colleagues recognized that same respect and dedication that her students acknowledged. Di was active in many departmental and college-wide committees, while at the same time working with her colleague, Shirley Krasinski, on the MSCA board, the faculty union, where she was a tireless advocate to address pay inequities, gender biases, and governance issues that were so prevalent in the late 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. Shirley and Di were indefatigable in their work on union issues, and they, along with other colleagues, successfully righted many of these wrongs. Through their persistent work, both of these women advanced solutions to these many contractual inequalities which faculty members at all state universities benefit from today in 2021. Di was a committed, ardent, sincere feminist who understood issues facing women and underrepresented groups in the 1960s and 70s. But Diana had many other interests as well. I remember our discussions of books and poems, for Diana was a voracious reader. Therefore, it is appropriate that we dedicate these reading chairs on the portico of the town's library to Diana's memory. I can see Diana sitting in this Adirondack chair with one of her beloved standard poodles at her feet. Though Diana had many animals during her life, including beautiful cats, I remember, the standard poodle was the perfect dog for her. International, regal, dignified, intelligent, well-groomed, loyal, graceful, and attractive. Ironically, these same characteristics, among many others, could be ascribed to Diana herself. People who devote themselves to the welfare of animals are special human beings, and Diana was in this class. Diana's interests were far-reaching. She loved classical music, and for years, she and Shirley had season tickets to the Handel and Haydn Society in Boston, where my wife and I would run into them occasionally. She kept a lengthy journal for decades, which contained reflections about all manner of subjects. Diana was literary, musical, and artistic. I could go on and on talking about the many virtues and qualities of this remarkable woman. I do sincerely believe that many of us who knew Diana Draheim acknowledge that we are better human beings as a result of that friendship. It is therefore appropriate and fitting that the Bridgewater Improvement Association acknowledge this unique individual in our dedication ceremony today and honor the memory of Dr. Diana Draheim. In recognition of Diana's love of nature and dogs, I would like to read a poem by Emily Dickinson, who was a favorite of Diana's. It's a poem about a hummingbird and a dog. Within my garden rides a bird. Within my garden rides a bird upon a single wheel, whose spokes a dizzy music make as 'twere a traveling mill. He never stops, but slackens above the ripest rose, partakes without alighting and praising as he goes, till every spice is tasted, and then his fairy gig reels in remoter atmosphere, and I rejoin my dog. And he and I perplex us, if positive 'twere we, or bore the garden in the brain this curiosity. But he, the best logician, refers my clumsy eye to just vibrating blossoms and exquisite reply. Thank you.
Those chairs don't want to let you get out of them, just warning you. Okay. Dr. Carlton Hutt is going to read some reflections on community connections here in Bridgewater.
Thoughts and reflections on the BIA's community connections. Reflections. BIA was originally known as the Village Improvement Association in 1901. Let's consider the meanings of the title. Village. The founders considered Bridgewater a village 120 years ago. They were thinking of only the downtown. Were they thinking of only the downtown or the entire community? It's safe to say today, BIA thinks of the town, now a city, with many needs. Improvement. An analogous term is betterment, a concept held then and today. Association. An analogous term is, I got the wrong word. Association, an alliance or society of people or organizations working together towards a common good. The concerns of the founders are the same today as yesterday. Actually, the Kerns today are the same as the founders yesterday. Concerns were beautification, creation of parks. Think of the Little Park, one of our library trust funders, and also a funder of BIA, and public health, interestingly enough. These 1900 factors led to national and local desires for preservation, conservation, and the back to nature movement. These factors still are in play today with increasing urgency and need addressing. Connectivity. Please recall our society at the turn of the last century was male-dominated. Women were not allowed to vote, and I mean society, not BIA, but society at large. Women were not allowed to vote. Thus, when organizations were formed, they were predominantly, if not exclusively, male organizations. Against this backdrop, several organizations were formed in Bridgewater around the turn of the 20th century. 1880 to 1900, businessmen formed an association to encourage economic expansion. It was driven by men to encourage economic growth, such as shoe factories and a downtown train station. Interestingly, this group donated its funds to the BIA in 1911. 1989, women of the town formed the Asquamican Club, apologies for the pronunciation. It was organized by middle, upper-class women interested in impacting the culture and the civic life of Bridgewater. Recalling women were excluded from political and entrepreneurial activities, the club also tried to address ways to improve the town. However, they came to believe an independent society could better address town improvements. Hence, in 1901, over 40 women, including Elizabeth D. Revere, Flora T. Little, Sarah Bates, Cora Thompson, among others, and men such as Arthur Boyden, Reverend A.H. Hobart, Richard Casey, John Flynn, the Reverend J.J. Farley, and others met to form the Bridgewater Improvement Society. BIA was formed for the purpose of, quote, promotion of order, beauty, and public welfare. Thus, BIA's theme of town beautification was established. We will hear later of many of the accomplishments of BIA towards this purpose. Most of BIA's early work was accomplished by women, but the executive board, of course, was mostly men. Thankfully, that is no longer the case. Moreover, BIA did not access public funds, but deemed it provident to work closely with the town office. This was true then, and it remains today. Over our long existence, we have worked closely with the town's elected officials, town manager, highway department, public library, planning board, and the current effort to form a tree board. Moreover, 3 BIA members serve on BSU's University Community Initiative Committee, which funds various projects based in Bridgewater, including the Music Alley Pocket Park and other civic projects. BIA's original purpose extends to many important issues of today. These include tree planting, think of carbon sequestration, and global climate change mitigation. Conservation, think open space. Parklands, think, as I said before, the Little Park and the Dubin Park, and various other traffic islands in which we maintain for years at town intersections. And then think of the public-private collaborations between the town and BSU, with BIA playing a role. These old, yet current topics are of great importance today as society attempts to mitigate the unintended consequences of industrialization and growth of the personal freedom enabled by fossil fuel, the automobile, and mass movement of goods and services today. BIA was there then and is here now, continuing our mission of enhancement and maintenance of Bridgewater's natural beauty. We look forward to continuing collaborations and success. Thank you.
And I'm going to ask Yadwiga Smith to do some closing comments about the BIA's past and future. But as soon as she gets done, don't rush inside to eat because we're going to hear from Shirley. Remember, I promised her that. So, Jadwiga.
Hello, everybody, and illustrious honored guests. The Bridgewater Improvement Association, established in 1901, is one of the oldest organizations in the town of Bridgewater. In fact, 2021 is an important anniversary for BIA, for we are officially 120 years old this year. The Bridgewater Improvement Association was originally established to beautify public spaces and preserve the beauty of the town during a time when the town had few funds available for beautification and landscaping. 120 years later, the mission of the Improvement Association is very similar, with our objectives being to, and this is a quote, maintain and enhance natural beauty of the town, preserve Bridgewater's historical character, nature and awareness of the town's natural and historical assets, support and encourage active citizens' participation in these objectives, provide common areas where residents and visitors can relax and enjoy the beauty of Bridgewater. Unquote. The Bridgewater Improvement Association is a non-profit organization with a membership of approximately 30 Bridgewater residents. The 4 officers of BIA receive no remuneration for their time-consuming work, and trust me, it is a great deal of work to run this association. In our 120 years history, the Bridgewater Improvement Association has undertaken and completed hundreds, and this is really the word, hundreds of projects for this town. I would like to take a little time to highlight some of these projects of the past 30 years, during which time I have been on the BIA. So it is over 30 years for me. A few of these funded projects include the following: the landscaping, planting, and maintenance of the Central Square Common, which has been ongoing for decades and decades, but legally provided by Flora T. Little in her will when she named the BIA a trustee and left money for its perpetual maintenance. The BIA engages a local landscaping company to plant and maintain flowers for 3 seasons every year. The planting of Bradford pear trees on Main Street. The planting of flowering spring trees on Broad Street. The planting, design, and maintenance of the little park on Summer Street. The installation of period-appropriate gas lamp posts throughout Central Square. The installation of the Lorraine Daly Memorial Garden, where we are standing just now. The installation and more recent renewal of the fountain in front of the Academy building. Here it is. The purchase of English wrought iron urns in front of the town hall. Installation and upkeep of benches at Carver's Pond, the town river landing, here at the library, and, as previously mentioned, throughout the common and at the Little and Dublin parks. The installation of the magnificent alley of linden trees at the end of Main Street near the town line. Which evokes the beautiful lindens in Berlin, Germany. The installation of lily beds throughout the town. The installation of many plantings of flowers and trees at the following traffic islands in Bridgewater: Pleasant Street and Scotland Boulevard, Pleasant Street and Vernon Street, North Street and Birch Street, Pleasant Street and South Street, Bedford Street and Cottage Street, Main Street and High Street. The ownership and maintenance of the lily beds, the traffic island gardens, and the Academy building fountain were turned over to the town of Bridgewater in 2017. Last and by no means last, the installation of the bespoke Adirondack furniture behind us, dedicated to Shirley Krasinski and Diana Dryham. Yes, it was the Bridgewater Improvement Association that completed all of these projects. The funding for these many projects come from a variety of sources, initially from businessmen using their private funds, and then from a trust in the will of Mrs. Flora T. Little in the 1960s. Today, that trust is managed by the Bank of America. Our generous bequests from civic-minded citizens to the Bridgewater Improvement Association have been also invested and fund our activities. On occasion, local businesses have also given generously. As a private, non-profit organization, the BIA gratefully accepts tax-exempt donations and contributions as costs continue to rise for materials and landscaping work. That was an important line. Contributors can be reassured that all funds are carefully managed and put to the use for the beautification and preservation of Bridgewater. We have been going strong for 120 years, and our vision continues far into the future. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to let the woman of the hour have a minute or two of your ears. Shirley? It was hard to get out of, right?
I would be remiss if I didn't say a few words of thank you to first Marilee Hunt, who orchestrated this whole event,
We had a committee.
and to her supporters and good workers who know how capable she is and are very willing to help. I'd also like to thank all of you for taking this time on a beautiful August summer day. And to the Library Board of Trustees and staff for allowing us to put these chairs here, and having just spoken now with the member of the head of the library, I would say, about the possibility of opening that front door so that people would use the entry in the front of the building to pick up their book and come out here and read or whatever. In any event, I thank all of you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for letting me be a small part of your life in my pleasure of working with and for the BIA. Indeed, enjoy your day, and I believe Marilee has some treats for you.